Hey.
Hi.
Now for your other gimmick on the show, movies that are surprisingly 2.5 hours long.
At 10 o'clock at night.
Must be at 10 o'clock, that's very important.
For someone who's not a night person.
Oh, well, you are now.
Now I am, yeah.
That's really all it takes. I distinctly remember when I was staying up this late. Sure, there was the drugs and alcohol, but really it was the 2.5 hour movies. We just got out of Red Sparrow, which, when the trailers for this movie were out, and honestly, even here at the movie theater tonight, one of the guys at the concession, I asked him if he had seen it, and he hadn't, but he'd kind of mentioned what he thought from the trailer and what even some people that he knew were saying about it. Not that they had seen it, but just from the trailer and before the movie came out. And a lot of the vibe is that, and I even kind of remember, like, Gino saying something about this, maybe even Sarah, when we were talking about the trailer, and that, like, well, there's not a Black Widow movie coming out anytime soon, so maybe this is it. Maybe it's, Red Sparrow, but hey, it's like a Black Widow movie, but with Jennifer Lawrence. Okay, get that out of your head immediately before you go see this movie, because, look, I think they are making a Black Widow movie before too long, but odds are it might not have the severe torture, multiple rape, skinning, incest, debauchery that's in this movie.
Yeah, the first half I was into.
I actually really enjoyed this movie. It's not the movie that is being sold from the trailers.
Well, people think of Jennifer Lawrence and they think mainstream movie that is, Hunger Games, or not Hunger Games, but
but a mainstream action film.
Same with Mother. They thought that Mother was gonna be like.
Well, okay, I mean, at least with Mother though, like, to a point, you kind of know what. Maybe you don't know what's going to happen in the movie, but you almost kind of know what you're getting into, in the sense that, like, that's a Darren Aronofsky movie. You know, it's not going to be anything really like.
Yeah, I mean, but people are like, Jennifer Lawrence. Oh, I like her. She's in a lot of, like, mainstream things. She's also in Vogue a lot, and she's also, in these popular People magazines. She's, so people are like, oh, I'll see that. Mother, the fuck?
But Mother, though,
and then this Mother, is like kind of the same thing, but not as, like, if you don't know who Darren Aronofsky is, you're gonna be like.
But at least the trailer for Mother, maybe the trailer for Mother doesn't show you what it's about or exactly what happens in it, but it's at least showing a really weird vibe that's probably gonna happen in the movie. This, they Trojan horsed an exploitation movie on the audience, which is awesome. And I respect the makers of this movie so hard, because this movie is like if we went to go see Tomb Raider and what we got was Cannibal Holocaust.
What I was thinking of was God, I forgot. I just asked you right before.
Salon Kitty.
I was like, this is what I'm thinking Salon Kitty would be like.
If it were a mainstream film starring Jennifer Lawrence.
But the first half of it, the second half is a spy movie, but there is still some torture and stuff like that in it.
That is also kind of the case with Salon Kitty. Like, this movie is, I mean, this isn't in Germany, this movie's in Russia, but I leaned over to you at one point. It was going through her training in this to be a Sparrow, in which there is a lot of sex going on, and there is some rape and, like, really, really graphic murder scenes. I leaned over to you and I went like, this is a mainstream release starring Jennifer Lawrence. It's out in I don't know, maybe a couple of thousand theaters or something like that. And they've remade Salon Kitty. And this is genius, because they didn't tell the audience that they're remaking Salon Kitty, or like a 70s Nazi exploitation movie, and throwing it out into theaters.
Here you guys go. Jennifer Lawrence in Salon Kitty.
I love that. In the first half hour of this movie, you have a rape scene with Jennifer Lawrence in which the man is still in her and is getting strangled with piano wire while blood drips just all over her.
Yeah.
Cut to then, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes later, she's about to get raped in the shower, and then just practically beats the man to death with the shower head that she pulls out of the wall.
And she does have the one criticism I have. I mean, the main criticism I have with her performance was that it reminded me a lot of like Atomic Blonde, where she didn't have much character to her, and she just was always like, maybe in a handful of scenes she would smile or she would cry, but for the most part she was like, you know, serious.
Sure.
Just like no character really, just badass. And that was about it. Like, I mean,
it's a different movie than Atomic
Blonde.
No,
it is. I'm not saying it is Atomic Blonde, but whereas Atomic Blonde was this badass female character, she wasn't like, she didn't have a character to her. It didn't feel like in Atomic Blonde, and that's the similarity with this character too. Like, it seems like just being badass and not really having like any sort of emotional. I mean, yeah, her mom is like paralyzed or something, but he only cuts the mom and her like 3 times in the movie.
The mom's in it more at the beginning than she is later on in the movie. Yeah. But I like Jennifer Lawrence in this. What I liked about her is that this part is very much written to be a very cold character. Like, she's kind of supposed to be. She's kind of supposed to be sort of quiet and reserved and just is sort of being told what to do by her superiors and everyone else in the film. What I liked about her in this is that, and I guess I liked her better in this than you did, but the reason why is, I mean, I've seen this before where a character is playing this kind of cold character and it just comes across like a snore, like Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell. But what I liked about Jennifer Lawrence in this is that she really uses her sexuality to her advantage in this. She acts a lot with that. She acts a lot with her physicality and her seduction techniques. Yeah. And because she's playing the part, because the part is written to be kind of quiet and cold, what I liked about that in this is that you kind of knew what her motivations were as it was going along, but it could easily have gone either way. You could think this one thing about this character, but she could also be sort of deceiving the audience too in that regard. And maybe while we think she's sort of playing for this side, it could very well by the end turn out to not be the case. Not saying where it goes or not, but that I did like that about her performance, is that yeah, I had an idea of what her motivations were in the movie, but it left it open to where there could be some kind of turn later on.
I do like that she uses her sexuality for, like, you know, as a power tool, you know. Like, she'll, like that one scene, I guess, spoilers here. Can I use spoilers in this one?
Sure.
Okay. Because I know Annihilation, we couldn't. You're
like,
nah, I prefer us not. But there's a scene, and a lot of it, some of it, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but Sallow felt a little bit.
I was so thinking of that too a couple of times in this. Now,
it's like a school and they're like trying, Sallow's not a school and Sallow, but it is like,
no, I went to private school, it's just like that.
Here, this is your course, you get anal, or like.
Well, that was geometry class.
But no.
The cafeteria food was about the same.
But I was thinking, like, you know, like, they're all, like, being kind of taught seduction, or, like, rape, mostly, or actually
same with the Salon Kitty.
Sallow, yeah, that's all rape. I'm not saying they were taught being, you know, how to seduce people.
Sure, yeah.
But it did, like, the atmosphere was very, like, I don't know,
I thought of that, too, a couple of times. Yeah. Not saying that this movie ever gets graphic to the point of a movie like Sallow.
No one shits in each other's mouths.
No, but it was reminding me of a movie of that era like that. It was reminding me a lot of, like, whoa, they just Trojan horsed like a movie of like Salon Kitty or Sallow or those 70s more ambitious Nazi-exploitation movies, and it is awesome that so many people are going to go see this movie and be blindsided by so much stuff that happens in this.
Like, one of the favorite parts of mine, like, with Jennifer Lawrence's performance, like, I thought she was a little bit too stone cold, like, throughout the entire thing, where she, even from the beginning, before she broke her leg at the during her
Oh,
show.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I just felt she was very just never showed any sort of expression. So it felt really like, I mean, like you said, it's supposed to be come off cold, but to me it came off. You need to have something like throughout the movie.
You know, I get what you're saying, because I've had that complaint about a couple other movies in the past.
Yeah.
In this one, I didn't. Maybe it was because she gives a very physical performance in here, and I think she has really good chemistry with Joel Edgerton.
I didn't think that at all.
Oh,
actually.
I did.
I thought they had zero chemistry.
I thought they had good chemistry together.
I was like, where did this come from? Where did this romance come from? And
oh no, I could see that, because it establishes that he kind of picks up on women a little bit, and it definitely establishes that she uses sexuality to her advantage. But
on her end, I felt that way, not his end. I felt like he was not.
I just really like Joel Edgerton. I thought he was really good in this.
But I liked him, but I didn't see him. I don't know, like show sexual interest. I mean, he did in the way it was written, but I didn't feel it between the two. Mostly
I could have used more of it. I could have used more of it to the point to where it would become an erotic thriller, but what little it kind of gave, I thought they did really good. I thought they worked really well on screen together. But as far as her performance goes, a lot of the scenes where she is acting very kind of distant and cold and whatnot, I thought that's kind of what was called for in those scenes. I thought, I did think she showed emotion when the scenes where she's being tortured, the action sequences. This is when she breaks her leg, when she gets revenge on her former dance partner at the beginning of the film. Yeah. When it called for it, I thought she did get very expressive.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean, because there's been movies in the past where I felt the same way about. I just didn't hear.
It wasn't terrible. I was just like, I could have used like more of a character than just like, besides the action sequences, she was just stone cold faced, no expression whatsoever, which, like you said, that's is probably intended, but to me, I wish there was more development there. Mm-hmm. But one of the scenes I was trying to mention earlier with like the sallow-ish scene in the whole like whore house. I can't do a Russian accent, but or the whore school. Was when she uses her sexuality to overpower this man, because he's like bend over, and she's like, no. And she like is like, you need to look at me. She actually does a nude scene in this.
Yeah.
And she is sexy as hell. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be intended that way. Like, yeah, it's supposed to be kind of disturbing, but I'm like, all right, Jennifer Lawrence is naked.
Oh yeah, this movie also shows dick in it too.
Was that a real penis, you think, or was that like?
It looked like it.
It looked like it to me, but she's like, "No, you need to look at me." She turns like this, and she shows her ass, her boobs, and then not her vagina. Which there was
a quick shot where she did.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I thought I would notice something like that, but yeah, she's like, "No, you need." She uses her sexuality to overpower this man, because he wants power from he wants to have power over her, where she turns it around and she's like, no, look at me while you have sex with me, and he can't get hard, and so and so I mean, there's things like that is like, it's not too, it is degrading, but there's scenes like that make it not degrading, because she's like, no, look at me while you do this.
There's context to it too, like in Salon Kitty and like the better examples of movies like that in the past. Like, the plot is dependent on that. The plot is, it shows you in great detail what they're putting this character through to make her want to escape it, make her want to get revenge against certain people who were involved with it. It really puts you on her side, and also Joel Edgerton's side too. I really respect that this movie didn't shy away from what pretty much any other mainstream movie now would have shied away from.
Yeah,
and
I
this
that.
movie didn't. Like, this movie has even some of the lines in this movie. Like, when the one dude says something like I hear you sparrows have the magic pussy. Like, and I'm like, oh wow, that's not gonna be in a Black Widow movie.
I do.
I hear you widows have the magic pussy.
The first half of the movie, or maybe the first 3/4 of the movie, I was really into. This movie could have shaved off at least 20 to 30
No,
minutes.
it could have.
And I was really into the whole exploitation part of it, to be honest. I was really into that. I was like, I don't see this anymore in mainstream movies. I mean, it's not for everyone, and
It is not.
And I'm okay, you know, like, yeah, totally, like, don't see this if you're not into brutal rape scenes. And, I mean, I'm not into those either, but, I mean...
Well, this had... between this and Death Wish, I would have figured Death Wish would have had more rape scenes in it. Go fucking figure. It's the Jennifer Lawrence movie that's out right now.
It wasn't a brutal rape scene where it's just like, here's a plot point. There we go. We're going to use rape as a way for motivation.
No, I mean
this is something that actually kind of, it's used in a way that old movies used it. You know what I mean? Like,
when they used it well, and when they used it in context of the movie and to service the plot, like as opposed to watching something that fetishizes it.
Yeah, fetishizes it, or just uses it because it's lazy, because it's like, oh, we need to give this character a reason.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, this movie did that well, and there's plenty of movies in the past that did as well too. Like the difference between Death Wish 1 and Death Wish 2.
It was definitely hard for me to watch, but it was paid off well, because she does get revenge.
Yeah, and I still like the second half of this movie. I mean, like Salon Kitty, it does get into the actual spy aspect of it in that movie, as opposed to just the beginning when Helmut Berger is watching freaks have sex with the women. Mm-hmm. Like, in this, when it actually got to the spy stuff, I respected that it kind of kept a consistent tone, in that it never turned into like a straight up action movie. Like it still kind of kept with being a fairly quiet thriller, as opposed to it then will turn into a Jason Bourne movie. Like, it never did that. It never did. Now, there is some sheer brutality in it, but it is shown as that when there is violence in the movie, it's pretty fucking rough, even in the second half of the movie. In the climax, there is this brutal, like, knife fight, along with, like, this skin graft machine that they're just peeling skin off of people. Like, this movie did not hold back.
It held back for, like, so the first, like, 45 minutes to an hour, it was something I really, really, really liked. Then it was, like, 30 minutes of just spy shit that I kind of got a little bit lost in. Shocker. Maybe not 30 minutes, it was like 20 minutes.
Sure.
Not lost in, but it was just kind of like, it felt like it was just dragging on, so it could be 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then the last half of it, I was like, all right, I'm back into it again. It was like the middle part, I was like, okay. I mean, I was getting a little restless, and I also had to go outside quite a bit, because I was having to cough a lot, because I'm getting over a flu. And so I was like, I feel bad for the people behind me.
No, that guy was just back there masturbating. I love it when she coughs! Wow, what a weird guy. Took a gamble there'd be a coughing person in the audience.
I guess that's a fetish now?
Sure, why not?
There's a bunch of fetishes out there. I guess that doesn't surprise me.
The movies I watch, I can vouch for this. Now, the movies, I agree that it's too long. It could have easily 20 minutes probably shaved off of it, but it still did keep my attention.
Sorry.
It still did keep my attention, and I liked the characters in the film, and I was just kind of just appreciating how rough the movie is. And again, this is going to surprise a lot of people when they go see it. There was a weird thing though, like quite a few times near the beginning of the movie, where I kept having to be reminded that this wasn't taking place in the 80s.
Me too, because when she went into the horse school, she was like, the teacher or whoever she was like, now that the Cold War has ended, there's been like something, 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 and then they started showing technology that was recent,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, and they were also wearing clothing that could have passed as something that was in the, like in the 80s, So, but then they were, I don't know, so I guess it was meant to be that way. Maybe that was on purpose.
Well, just in some parts of the world, it is still the 1980s.
Well, that's probably true too, but...
No, like, when it first showed Joel Edgerton, you could see, like, a modern, like, computer monitor behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, okay, well, it's in the present. But then it would cut to Jennifer Lawrence for quite a while before cutting back to Joel Edgerton. And in my head, I would be thinking, like, oh, this is like 1983 or something like that.
Because Russia's stuck in the 80s.
And also, there's a lot of stuff in it that was reminding me of The Americans, which does take place in the 80s.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry to offend any Russians.
No, but, like, But yeah, I'm kind of like you on that. Like, there were a couple times where I had to remind myself this wasn't like 1984.
I think that was on purpose, though.
I just think that in certain parts of the world, it just still looks like that. I mean, I could be wrong, but like I could totally be wrong on that. But again, whoever wrote this movie and directed it, I would be shocked if they didn't see stuff from the 70s that this is very reminiscent of. I would be shocked if there wasn't a little Tinto Brass inspiration in a lot of this film.
We gotta do some research when we get home. We gotta do some research when we get home.
What does that mean?
Like to see what the director of this movie...
Oh, I thought you were gonna try to seduce me with a Russian accent while pouring hot water and skin grafting my back.
Welcome to my horror school. I can't do a Russian accent, so that's not gonna be working for you at all.
Oh, please, lady.
Okay.
No photography.
Her accent was pretty good, except for sometimes.
I'm not an unless it is glaringly bad, I'm not an expert on that.
You could tell, though, with Jennifer Lawrence, because she would... maybe that's why she had such, like, a... still, like... cold, like...
Sure. Mm-hmm.
What was that?
No, I was just nodding.
Oh, the way you were nodding was funny.
Oh, I also just had an aneurysm, but don't worry about it.
Maybe her composure was so like that because she couldn't... Because if you're trying to be so expressive with a different accent you're not used to, maybe it's, like, harder because of... I mean, it's easier to be very like, oh yeah. Okay, I can't do an accent, but it's easier.
It's not as easy as it looks, is it?
Well, I'm not an actress either.
You were in disco.
Yeah, but I'm not like Jennifer Lawrence.
You were supposed to be Russian in that.
And you made me a Russian. And I'm like, what? I have to take some lessons now.
Like when Bianca was British in Game Boys, I was like, don't worry, I wrote a line in there where it's like, she could be faking it.
She told me about that. That was funny.
Yeah. No, like, I don't, maybe, but I mean, it did go to her character. It was part of her character. I thought that was that.
Jeremy Irons was just Jeremy Irons, and it.
Oh yeah.
He was just like. I can't think of a line he delivered, but it was just very
Simon
much...
Says McLean. He was very Jeremy Irons.
He was
Russian. Cool. He was cool because Jeremy Irons is always cool. People are just chain smoking through this movie, mainly Jeremy Irons. But no, I'm not an expert on accents really. So I mean, if it's something that's glaringly bad, like of course I'll notice it. In this, I didn't notice really if she was doing that bad of a job. It seemed fine to me.
No. It was really good. It's just I noticed like one or two times where she was like, where she had to express emotion a lot. Where she was like, "Mom" or "Mama" or something, and she had to like kind of had that Jennifer Lawrence accent again, or not Jennifer Lawrence accent, but you know what I mean. Like she had that Jennifer Lawrence. thing going on. She was like, Mama, where are you? Or something. But besides that, she did really well.
Yeah.
I think everyone did pretty well.
Yeah,
besides Jeremy Irons. But Jeremy
Irons was great in this.
Jeremy Irons just being Jeremy Irons.
And he's great at being Jeremy Irons.
As far as his accent goes, he was just doing a Jeremy Irons.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there are those actors where they can just get away with it. Like Sean Connery. Like, I saw him do another accent once, and it was a movie from the 50s. It was Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Other than that, Sean Connery sounds like Sean Connery, but everyone just loves Sean Connery, so it's like, yeah, okay, I buy that he's a Russian in Hunt for Red October, or Jeremy Irons. It's like, yeah, alright, I buy whatever Jeremy Irons is. For all I know, he's a real lion.
Or Kevin Costner. Marion! Come here, Marion. Like,
Robin Hood?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Marion.
He gave up that accent like 10 minutes into that movie. I love that fucking movie, too. That movie's awesome. I love Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Back to Red Sparrow, though.
The other Robin Hood movie.
I liked it a lot in the first 3/4 of it, but it could have shaved off 30 minutes and taken off like some areas where it was just like, I don't know, I'm not really quite, for me, I wasn't quite following some of the stuff. I mean, I was getting the hint, but I was like,
I feel like this...
It would have been a lot tighter and better if it was...
It could have been a little tighter, but I feel like this movie should have collided with Atomic Blonde to form a movie with this script, but Atomic Blonde style.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I'm like, no, well, actually, I disagree. I think this Atomic Blonde has its own style.
But if Atomic Blonde had this script, but looked the same, and maybe throw in the action sequences too from Atomic Blonde. But I feel like if the two movies got in a car accident, what came out of it would actually be alright.
With Atomic Blonde, the action sequences are amazing.
They are.
But with this movie, the parts where it reminded me of like Sallow or like some sort of 70s exploitation movie, that's what I really liked about it.
Yeah, same here.
And those are the parts I'm like, put those two together, and we could get a really good movie out of this.
I did enjoy this film. I liked it quite a bit, honestly. Like, this movie is not for everybody.
No.
But if what we've said about it makes you curious to see it, and if you like just some good old-fashioned exploitation, man, go for it. I recommend it. I had a good time at this movie. Considering it's 2.5 hours long and we saw it really late at night, I had a good time. It was better than I thought it was gonna be.
I thought it was better than I thought it was gonna be too for the first 3/4. But like I said, it could have if it was 30 minutes shorter, I think I would have liked this movie a ton. But this movie, I was like, okay.
I probably would have come out with it about the same, regardless if it was a half hour short. I mean, I agree it should be shorter, but my feeling, how I'm recommending the movie would probably be about the same, regardless. There's like 4 movies that are coming out this weekend. They won't all get seen on Thursday night, but there's Wrinkle in Time, Gringo, Hurricane Heist, and
Mute.
Mute's on Netflix. We gotta check that out sometime. The Strangers 2. That's coming out this weekend too. So, all right. Ready to get home and at least warm the car.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, everyone. Thanks a bunch for watching, everybody. Good night.
Bye.